Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you to Temple Emeth and to our Shabbat Morning Service, which we are having in person here in the Rabbi Louis J. Siegel Sanctuary and on live stream. So it's my pleasure to welcome you who have joined us here in the sanctuary and also to welcome you who have joined us on live stream. I have just a couple of notes so that you can be a full participant even as you watch us on live stream. So my first note to you is that the prayer book that we use, the Siddur that we use on Shabbat morning is Mishkan Tefillah. I hope that you will access a copy of it. Maybe you have a copy at home that you can bring right to the screen. That would be ideal. Or you can access a copy, preferably on a second device, by going to emeth.org/livestream, scrolling down just a bit to where it says to access the Siddur prayer book, and then clicking on the link that says Mishkan Tefillah for Shabbat weekdays and festivals. That will bring you to our Siddur in flipbook format, and you'll be able to follow along with each and every one of the songs and prayers on the same pages that we call out today. I also hope that you will help form bonds of virtual community by posting your name or your location or Shabbat Shalom or some other greeting in the chat or comment section of the live stream platform that you're using. By identifying yourself, by letting others know that you are part of our service today, we feel a greater sense of community and togetherness, and I think that's very meaningful for those who watch on live stream. So I hope you'll do that. For those of you here in the sanctuary, we'll be using Mishkan Tefillah. You should be able to find a copy near your seat. And our opening song this morning can be found on page 648. Yes, we're going to start in the back of the book, but it's worth it to open our service by singing Shir Chadash.
Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God a new song.
We continue now on page 194 of our Siddur. On page 194, we find a blessing thanking God for the miracle of the human body, and it will be followed in just a moment by a blessing that thanks God for the soul. We read together in English on 194. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who formed the human body with skill, creating the body's many pathways and openings. It is well known before your throne of glory that if one of them be wrongly opened or closed, it would be impossible to endure and stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. Baruch atah Adonai rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot. Having thanked God for the body, we turn the page, and on page 196, we read together, offering praise for the soul. My God, the soul you have given me is pure. You created it, you shaped it, you breathed it into me, and you protect it within me. For as long as my soul is within me, I offer thanks to you, Adonai, my God and God of my ancestors, source of all creation, sovereign of all souls. Praised are you, Adonai, in whose hand is every living soul and the breath of humankind. Baruch atah Adonai asher biado nefesh kol chai veruach kol basar ish. We turn now to page 198 where we find the Nisim B'chol Yom. We used our first two blessings as an opportunity to express gratitude for the body and for the soul. These next blessings express gratitude for other everyday parts of our existence that we may otherwise take for granted, but we take a moment now to thank God for these aspects of our lives, beginning on the top of page 198 and continuing on the next several even-numbered pages.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasech bivina le'avchin ben yom u'ben laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokev kifufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, amechlin mitzadei kaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, anoten laya'ev koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamavir shina meinai uduma me'afapai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzelem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani bat chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Uzer Yisrael bivura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Oter Yisrael b'tifara.
We turn now to page 204 and we join together in the blessing for the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. O Adonai, our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths and the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of all your people Israel may know you by studying your Torah for its own sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai hamalamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. Having offered the blessing for the study of Torah, we turn now to page 206, and in the middle of the page we recite an excerpt of Torah, oral Torah from the Talmud, which speaks about our obligations in life, those which are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world. We read together, "These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all." We turn now to page 215 in our Siddur. On page 215, we find Ashrei, which is a responsive acrostic psalm. Please join with Cantor Tillam in the responses to Ashrei. Ashrei yoshvei beitecha od yehalelucha selah.
Ashrei ha'am shekacha lo, Ashrei ha'am she'Adonai Elohav.
Tehillah leDavid, aramimcha Elohai hamelech, v'avarcha shimcha leolam va'ed.
B'chol yom avarcheka, v'halala shimcha leolam va'ed.
Gadol Adonai u'mehulal me'od, v'ligdulato ein cheker.
Dor l'dor yishabach ma'asecha, u'gvurotecha yagidu.
Hadar kavod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha.
V'zuz norotecha yomeru, u'gdulatcha saperena.
Zecher rav shuvcha yabi'u, v'tzidkatcha yiranenu.
Chanun v'rachum Adonai, erech ha'payim u'gdol chesed.
Tov Adonai lakol, v'rachamav al kol ma'asav.
Yoducha Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasidecha yivarchucha.
Kivod malchutcha yomeru, ugvratecha yidaberu.
להודיע לבני אדם גבורותיו וכבוד אדר מלכותיו.
מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור.
סומך אדוני לכל הנופלים וזוקף לכל הכפופים.
עיני כל אליך יסברו ואתה נותן להם את אוכלם בעיתו.
פותח את ידיך ומשביע לכל חי רצון.
צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו וחסיד בכל מעשיו.
קרוב אדוני לכל קרב, לכל אשר יקראו לאמת.
רצון יראיו יעשה ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם.
שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו ואת כל השעים ישמיד.
תהילת אדוני ידבר פיו ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד.
ואנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם. Hallelujah.
We turn now in our Siddur to page 223. You shall always be praised, great and holy God, our sovereign in heaven and on earth. Songs of praise and psalms of adoration become you, acknowledging your might and your dominion. Yours are strength and sovereignty, sanctity, grandeur, and glory always. We offer our devotion, open our hearts in acclamation. Baruch atah Adonai el melech gadol batish bachot, el hahoraot adon haniflaot, habocher b'shirei zimra, melech el chei ha'olamim. Praised are you, sovereign of wonders, crowned in adoration, delighting in song, eternal majesty.
Yitgadol v'yitgadosh shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei t'chol beit Yisrael b'gala Uvizman Karev V'immeru Amen. Yesh me Rabba mevorach le'olam elon me'almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yidroma v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yitoleh shemei d'kudusha v'richu Leila min kol bechata v'shirata Tishkechata v'nechemata Damiran be'alma v'imiru Amen.
We rise now for the Baruch Hu found in the Siddur on page 226.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam yotzer or uvorei choshech oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. Hameir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha barachamim uvtivo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reishit. Ma rabu ma'asech Adonai kulam b'chochma asita mal'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha. Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha ve'al me'orei or she'asita yifa'aru chasela. Or chadash al Tzion ta'ir v'niskeh chulanu mehira le'oro. Baruch atah Adonai yotzer ha'me'orot. We turn now to page 231. Once or twice in a lifetime, a man or woman may choose a radical leaving, having heard Lech Lecha, go forth. God disturbs us toward our destiny by hard events and by freedom's now urgent voice, which explode and confirm who we are. We don't like leaving, but God loves becoming. Baruch atah Adonai habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך ואיה הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'belechtecha v'derech, u'v'shochbecha u'v'kulmecha, u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'ayu l'totavot b'neinecha, u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'v'isharecha, lema arnetis kiru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'tem kedoshim le'eloechem, ani Adonai Elohechem, asher otzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Emet.
We continue now on page 239. We read together in English at the top of the page. Emet, there is no place where you are not. Even in the wilderness, there is your word. Emet, that pen strokes of lightning, white fire, black flame, stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way. True and enduring is Torah. Your truth for us is certain and established now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and rejoice.
Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la mi chamacha ba'elim Adonai mi chamacha nedar ba'kodesh Torah tehilot Hosefele, Hosefele, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la. Shira Hadasha. Shibchu geulim l'shimecha al sfat tayam yachad kulam hodu ve'himlichu ve'ameru ya la la ya la ya la 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 ya la la ya la la ya la la Adonai Yimelach le'olam va'ed, Adonai Yimelach le'olam va'ed, Adonai Yimelach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la. Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la. Tur Yisrael, kuma be'ezrat Yisrael, kuma 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 be'ezrat Yisrael, ufedei chinumecha. Yehuda v'Yisrael ufedei chinumecha. Yehuda v'Yisrael. Go'aleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo kadosh Yisrael. Baruch ata Adonai ka'al Yisrael.
Amen. And what is my lifespan? I'm like a man gone out of Egypt. The Red Sea parts, I cross on dry land. 2 walls of water on my right and on my left. Pharaoh's army and his horsemen behind me. Before me, the desert, perhaps the promised land too. That is my lifespan. We rise for the Tefillah, page 242.
Adonai שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Kameh Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Akol, V'zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevi Gula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ava, Melech Ozer, Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה כל התרב לאושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מקלקל חיים בחסד, המחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, שמח נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים. ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ולמידה מלך, מלך מביט ומחיה ולמצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. Baruch atah Adonai michayei akol.
Nikadesh et shimcha ba'olam, kishem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom, kakatu v'al nevi'echa b'karazeh el zeh ve'amar.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, melech haaretz kivodo.
Adir adirenu Adonai Adonenu, ma'adir shimcha b'chol haaretz.
Baruch kivod Adonai mimekomo.
Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Mosheinu, v'hu yashmeinu brachamav la'enei kol chai, ani Adonai Elohechem.
Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Sion, L'dor v'dor, Hallelujah. L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor, nagid God lecha. L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
nagid God lecha.
ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם לעולם ועד. לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור, נגיד God לך. L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor, nagid God lecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Amen. Please be seated. We turn now to page 250 in our Siddur, and to honor Shabbat, we look to the middle of the page as we join together in singing V'shamru.
V'shamru v'nei Yisrael, v'shamru et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, l'dorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, u'iti le'olam, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, la'asot
We turn now to page 254 as we join together in a prayer thanking God for the privilege of worship. We read together in English at the top of the page. Find favor, Adonai, our God, with your people Israel, and accept their prayer in love. May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable. God, who is near to all who call, turn lovingly to your servants. Pour out your Spirit upon us. Let our eyes behold your loving return to Zion. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose presence returns to Zion. Baruch atah Adonai hamachazir shechinato l'Tzion. We turn now to page 259 as we join together in offering a prayer for peace. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of our world. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael, ba shalom. We take a moment now for Tfilat Halev, the opportunity to offer to God the prayer of our hearts. Inspirational readings for this moment are found on pages 260 and 261.
Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, sim. Sim shalom tova uveracha. Ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la ya la la ya la la sim 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 shalom sim sim, sim, shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha.
Our service now continues with our Torah service, Seder Kriyat Torah, which is found in the Siddur beginning on page 363. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities, to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah, and let their children who do not yet know it hear, that they too may learn to revere Adonai your God. We continue in the middle of the next page. Please rise. In this scroll is the secret of our people's life from Sinai until now. Its teaching is love and justice, goodness and hope, freedom is its gift to all who treasure it.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shema, Gadol Adonai Iti, Unirabiba Shema Yachdav, Lecha Adonai HaGedila, HaGivera, HaTiferet, HaNitzach V'Ha'od, Ki Chol B'Shamayim U'Ba'aretz, Ki Chol B'Shamayim U'Ba'aretz, Lecha Adonai HaMamlacha, Yabid Nasi, Lecha Lerosh.
Please be seated. This week we begin anew the annual cycle in the reading of the Torah. We read about the creation of the world in 6 days, and on the seventh day, God rested. But it's not just that God rested. That is one of the verbs that is in the section of the Torah that I'm going to read for you, Genesis chapter 2, beginning with verse 1. But God also blessed and sanctified. And it is these two verbs that really are the special nature of Shabbat, beginning with Shabbat's first occurrence here in the Torah, and then continuing in many other occurrences in the Torah, including, of course, in both iterations of the Ten Commandments. And so I'm going to talk a little bit later about what our ancient commentators interpreted from the words Vayvarech, which means God blessed, and Vaykadesh, which means God sanctified. But in the meantime, I will just read these first 3 verses from Genesis chapter 2. You might recognize them because they are the traditional introduction to the Friday night Kiddush. You can follow along with the reading of the Torah. I'm going to, as I mentioned, read from Genesis chapter 2, verse 1. And if you're here in the sanctuary, you can find the words in the Torah commentary books on page 20. And if you're watching at home on live stream and you have a copy of the revised Plout commentary, then you can find this section on page 22. Okay, Pauline. And we call upon Pauline Hecht for the Aliyah. Okay, put your hand right here, Paul. Right there is good. And let me put this here. And let me find my spot. Okay, we're ready.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam, Asher Baharbanu Mikol Ha'amim, V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. Vayechulu Hashamayim v'ha'aretz v'chol tzeva'am. Vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa. Vayishbot bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa. Vayevarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i vaykadesh oto. Ki vo Shabbat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim lasot.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam, Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet, V'chayei Olam Nata Betoheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Okay, Yasher Kalach. Our service continues now with a prayer for those in need of healing. If you were watching us on live stream and you'd like to share the name of someone you are thinking of in need of healing, I invite you to post the name of that loved one in the chat or comment section of the live stream platform. And here in the sanctuary, if you are thinking of someone in need of healing, I invite you to share their name out loud or in your heart at this time. We turn in our Siddurim to page 371, and those of us in the sanctuary, you can direct your attention to the corner of the room and you'll see the names of those we think of and pray for as a congregation on the screen as together we join in singing the Mishaberach.
And let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mikol habracha. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
We continue now with the lifting and dressing of the Torah, which is found at the bottom of page 370. Please rise if you are able for Hagba and Galila.
Vezot Torah asher Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai biyad Moshe.
Please be seated. The Haftarah portion comes from the book of Isaiah, the part that we often call Deutero-Isaiah, with its very lyrical poetry and its wonderful imagery of restoring the covenant and taking Israel back in love. And so it's a very long Haftarah, but I've asked Ida Jean Fisher to read the second half, beginning with chapter 43. You can find that in the Torah commentaries here in the sanctuary on page 323, or in the revised Torah commentaries that you may have at home on page 53. And the connection to our Torah portion is evident even in the first verse of this chapter, where there is reference to creation and formation. In the Torah portion, of course, it is the creation of the universe. Here it is the creation of Jacob and Israel as a covenantal partner, but in both cases, God's creative power is at the forefront. Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah Moshe Avdo, Israel Amo, Uvinvieh Haemet Vatzedek. But now thus said the Lord, who created you, O Jacob, who formed you, O Israel, fear not, for I will redeem you. I have singled you out by name, you are mine. When you pass through water, I will be with you. Through streams, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be scorched. Through flame, it shall not burn you. For I am the Lord, I am your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. I give Egypt as a ransom for you, Ethiopia and Saba in exchange for you. Because you are precious to me and honored, and I love you. I give men in exchange for you and peoples in your stead. Fear not, for I am with you. I will bring your folk from the east and will gather you out of the west. I will say to the north, give back, and to the south, do not withhold. Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the end of the earth. All who are linked to my name, whom I have created, formed, and made for my glory, setting free that people, blind though it has eyes and deaf though it has ears. All the nations assemble as one, the peoples gather. Who among them declared this, foretold to us the things that have happened? Let them produce their witnesses and be vindicated, that men hearing them may say, it is true. My witnesses are you, declares the Lord, my servant whom I have chosen, to the end that you may take thought and believe in me. And understand that I am he, before me no God was formed, and after me none shall exist. None but me, the Lord. Besides me, none can grant triumph. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzor kol haolamim, tzadik bechol hadorot, ha'el hane'eman, haomer ve'oseh, hamedaber u'mkayem, shekol devarav emet vatzedek, al haTorah ve'al havodah ve'al haneviim ve'al yom haShabbat hazeh, shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, liktusha ve'limnucha, lechavod ultifaret, al hakol Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach, umvarchim otach, yitbarak shimcha befi kol chai tamid leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen.
We continue our service now as we prepare to return the Torah to the Ark. We turn in Mishkan Tefillah to page 374. Please rise. Yahalalu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado.
טוב נתתי לכם תורתי, אל תעזבו את חיים היא, למה חזיקים בה ותמכה מאושר דרכה דרכינם וכל נתיבותיה שלום השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה חדש ימינו כקדם.
Please be seated. Our Torah portion reads, Vayavarech Elohim et Yom HaShvi'i Vayikadesh Oto. God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy. Our commentators have various opinions as to why we need two actions, blessing and declaring holy, and what exactly they mean. Rashi says it is a forward-looking blessing, that even in the story of creation, God is blessing the seventh day because on that day, long in the future, there will be no manna on the seventh day, and instead the Israelites will get a double portion on the sixth day. Rashi's grandson, Rashbam, takes the similar theme of having food ready by the time Shabbat arrives, but instead he is referring to the act of creation. Food was prepared for the first human being before Shabbat began, and it was holy because even God was able to rest. Ibn Ezra argues that blessing means an abundance of good, and to him, making the day holy means that the people who keep it will be blessed and hallowed. Each of these commentaries helps fill in this ambiguous verse, but none does so completely. It is up to us to ask these questions for ourselves and our observance of Shabbat. We must ask, is Shabbat a blessing of the future, or is it a blessing of the present? Is Shabbat about preparing the things we will need for a proper observance, or is it an understanding that the pursuit of physical objects should be put on hold from time to time? Is it about sanctifying time, or is Shabbat about sanctifying people? As Reformed Jews, we struggle with these questions. We know that Shabbat is an important cultural and religious institution for the Jewish people, and yet many of us, myself included, are not satisfied with the role that Shabbat plays in our lives. Reformed Jewish doctrine presents an unarticulated contradiction. It gives us autonomy to make our own decisions, but when it comes to Shabbat, it is clear that community is a key factor in meaningful Shabbat observance. And so, we who have devoted this time to worshiping God on this Shabbat have a challenge. It is the challenge to decide how Shabbat is blessed and sanctified in our day and in our lives. And it is the challenge to ensure that the blessing and sanctity is a meaningful part of our lives as well. Shabbat Shalom. Our service continues now with the Elenu, which is found in your Siddur on page 586 at the bottom of the page. Please rise for the Elenu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגר עלינו ככל כל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We remain standing at this time for a reading to introduce the Mourner's Kaddish. We turn in our Sidurim to page 593. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. This Shabbat, we remember those for whom we are in the Shloshim, 30-day period of mourning. Betty Beaver, remembered by David and Karen Dugood, and Mark Klausner, a member of Temple Emeth and cousin of Susan Klausner. We remember as well those whose yard-sites occurred this week. Rebecca Auerbach, Marion S. Becker, Joseph Brody, Ruth Mate Conford, Shirley Etzen, Isidore Foyer, Leon Fields, Jerry Fink, Helen Ginsberg, Norma Goldfinger, Matilda Handler, Julian Hyman, Jerome Klein, Nicholas Kunick, Elizabeth Labovitz, Nathan Lehman, Morris Leibowitz, Bertie Levy, Esther Loft, Carol Morris, Harold Pasval, Sheila Pilchick, Aaron Richards, Warren Ringler, Justin Rolfe, Peter Steiner, Fritz Stern, Marion Stern, Werner Stern, James Clinton Taylor, Harold Teitelbaum, Ethel Tobias, Adele Trope, Rose Uyghur, and Charles Wilson. And we remember the names of 6 of the 6 million who perished in the Holocaust. Mikhail Friedenthal of the Soviet Union, age 34, Grigory Friedenthal of the Soviet Union, age 43, Basia Feldman of the Soviet Union, age 41, Pesia Frid of the Soviet Union, age 66, Chaim Lokshin of the Soviet Union, age 66, and Yosef Kokin of the Soviet Union, age 27. We remember them all. We take them into our hearts with our own as we turn in the Siddur to page 598, and we join together in the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon u'vyomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'v'yizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha b'rechu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim. Elenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Elenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. It is my pleasure at this time to call upon Elaine Nissen, a member of our Board of Trustees, to offer Shabbat greetings and announcements.
Welcome to the first October Shabbat morning service. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, it's my pleasure to welcome you all. Our religious school will be remembering Mark Klausner and the wonderful impact he had on their lives and on the school and the young people in the congregation. It will be an age-appropriate memorial service tomorrow morning, 10:30, here in the sanctuary. We will be using our family service protocols. Seating will be socially distant, and masks will be required, but not vaccines. We hope you will join us with our series, Movies That Mattered. It returns Tuesday, October 5th, with The Boys from Brazil. The 1978 thriller stars Gregory Peck as Dr. Josef Mengele, who is trying to clone a new Hitler, and Laurence Olivier as the Nazi hunter trying to stop him. Seating will be socially distant, and no refreshments will be served. Showtime is 7:30. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I want to take a moment to thank the volunteers in the live stream control booth. So I wanted to mention a couple other things. So we have Mini University that begins on October 12th. And the Social Action Committee would like you to know about the annual cleanup of Windsor Park, which is right across the street from our building. That's going to be on Sunday, October 17th. And children are welcome to participate with their family members. Pre-registration is not required. You just meet in front of the temple at 10:30, and we'll be having an early dismissal from religious school so that our families can participate in the cleanup day. The live stream control booth is pretty crowded this morning. We have our official volunteers, Barbara Balkin and Meredith Alvaro, but Allegra Alvaro is helping, and there's a good number of people, members of the Zakin family, who are being trained. So I hope you learned a lot at this service, because we need lots of volunteers to keep our live stream program running. We are going to watch a short video at this time. 1 week from tomorrow, on October 10th at 11 a.m., is our annual Trachtenberg lecture. And the lecture is going to be given by Zoom. So I figured I would ask our lecturer to get on Zoom and record a little introduction to what she'll be sharing with us next week. So we're going to run the video now so you can meet Professor Nancy Sinkoff of Rutgers University.
This glorious, tantalizing excerpt of Wilhelm Friedman Bach's Fantasy in D minor for solo keyboard was likely played by Sarah Levy, the fifth daughter of the Berlin court Jewish family, the Itziks. Levy was born in 1761, just as the city was becoming a center of the Prussian Enlightenment. Benefiting from imperial patronage and economic development under Frederick the Great, the arts and sciences grew among the city's cultural elite, which included French and German Protestants, Catholics, as well as Jews. This dynamic cosmopolitan environment proved fateful for Jewish history. The Itzik family adopted the mores, social practices, and values of the surrounding culture, building an extraordinary home and an equally exceptional art and music collection. An accomplished harpsichordist who enjoyed a particularly close relationship with the Bach family, Sarah Levy was also a salon hostess who created spaces for Christian-Jewish interaction through music, a testament to the ways in which her gender was an asset in the process of modernizing Jewish life. Yet Sarah Levy's world was not all tolerant interfaith cultural exchange. An undercurrent of long-standing anti-Jewish bias permeated elite Berlin society.
and newer scholarship has disclosed the problematic, even anti-Semitic elements in Bach's own Lutheran ideals. Please join me, Nancy Sinkoff, on Sunday, October 10, to explore more fully the themes of Enlightenment, Jewish modernization and gender, musical anti-Semitism, and the role of the court Jews in modern European Jewish history in my lecture, How Enlightened Was Enlightenment Berlin? These themes are also at the root of Lauren Belford's award-winning book, And After the Fire, which your Kahal is reading this year. See you soon.
So I hope that that was enticing for you, and you'll join us next week at the Trachtenberg Lecture. We have just about reached the conclusion of our service, so if you have a Kiddush cup, now is the time to bring it to the computer if you're watching on live stream. And if you're here joining us in the sanctuary, I invite you to rise as we lift the fruit of the vine and we join together in Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen l'chaim.
L'chaim. And the people who were here last Saturday requested a bigger challah. Ask and you shall receive. We join together in the motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
If you are watching us on live stream, I hope that you will take this last opportunity to post a comment or greeting in the chat section of your live stream platform. And if you are here in the sanctuary, I hope that you will turn to someone else here in our sacred space as we conclude our service by turning to one another and saying,
Shabbat Shalom.